Ethan Klein is currently suing Denims, Frogan, and Kaceytron for copyright. Today's video is a compilation of my videos about the lawsuit, so it'll be easy to catch up with the latest details. There are chapters in the description to help you find any specific story you'd like. With that said, let's get started.
Hi there, my name is Ethan Klein, and my favorite hobby is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawyers. Today I invite you into my home to share my favorite pastime with you. Join me in creating generational wealth for my attorney.
Ethan Klein from the H3 podcast and H3H3 Productions is suing 3 different Twitch streamers because they reacted to his video on Twitch. Now you might ask yourself, doesn't Ethan do pretty much the same thing? Isn't he a reactor? And the answer is kind of, but these streamers were using Ethan's video in a way that Ethan argues fair use does not apply. So we're going to get into that today as I show you how to react to stuff correctly. It's not that hard to follow the fair use guidelines, so let's hop into this. Alright, so what happened here? Why is Ethan suing these people? Well, you see, 4 months ago, Ethan released the content nuke on Hassan Piker. It was an hour 42-minute long video, which basically tore apart Hassan. Anyway, when Ethan released this video, he had a plan in mind. He was going to watch all the streamers that react to it and go through and figure out which ones didn't add anything to the video. Ethan set this video up as a trap to get people who have harassed him in the past, who he knows are very bad at violating copyright with reaction content on Twitch, to watch his video in order to have a reason to sue them, which is like 4D chess, so I'm not too mad about it. Now, of course, this is a pretty good plan, especially coming out of Ethan Klein. I've never seen him do something this devious, and I gotta respect the deviousness here. Not to mention he's doing it for a good reason, right? He isn't doing it just to get back at these people because they've harassed him in the past. And when we get to the people that he's suing, they'll be familiar names that you know have gone up against people like Ethan Klein and basically anybody who's not as far left as Hassan in the past. They're all Hassan orbiters, and I don't think this is gonna go very well for them. But why exactly did Ethan do this? Why did he set a trap to try to get people to react in a way that he felt was wrong? Well, you see, Ethan here, he actually believes in real reactions. He thinks that people should add something to the content that they're using in order to elevate it and change it in a way to make it comply with fair use. But I don't know if any of you guys have ever gone onto Twitch and watched a reaction video, because 9 times out of 10, any reaction that I see on Twitch is somebody just sitting there silently doing nothing and possibly not even sitting there watching the video. A lot of the times they'll walk away during the reaction. Now, obviously that doesn't add anything to the reaction. It doesn't transform it. It's usually not transformative, and it's basically just a way for Twitch streamers to have easy content by taking stuff that other people have made in the past and using it for themselves. Now, of course, there are some people that do it correctly. For instance, Asmongold, who could watch a 30-second clip and turn it into a 30-minute video. However, the average Twitch streamer is doing stuff like streaming entire TV shows on Twitch, and Ethan Klein is actually very worried that this is going to lead to some kind of apocalypse on Twitch when Disney or some other big company comes after them. But don't just take that from me. Let's listen to him.
My fear is that Sony or Disney comes along, sues everybody, and sets a devastating precedent that could endanger our entire field.
And I think that's a perfectly reasonable fear, because Twitch has absolutely no enforcement against copyright. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that they won't enforce it if somebody files a DMCA takedown. They obviously have to do that legally, but beyond what they have to do legally, Twitch doesn't seem to care. It's not like YouTube. Say I took one of Ethan's videos, like the content nuke, and I just straight ripped it and re-uploaded it all the same and everything. YouTube has a system built into the website which allows the copyright holder, in this case Ethan, to claim that video as their own and take the revenue from it. Whereas on Twitch, that's not really a thing. Twitch doesn't have the same copyright system as YouTube, which is actually a bad thing. You know, all the Twitch streamers, they think, oh, it's great because you can't stream on YouTube and watch TV shows because you'll get caught in the filter. So it's great you can do it on Twitch. But the problem with that, the reason you can't watch stuff on YouTube that is somebody just reacting to a major TV show, is because in the past YouTube has been sued, and it almost shut down the website at the time because copyright infringement was such a big problem. Then YouTube had to develop the tools to fight it in response to the lawsuit, and that's how we got to where we are today. Twitch has never actually been, you know, put through the ringer on this, and I think eventually they will. So I think Ethan is right to question this practice and try to make a change here. But who is Ethan suing? Well, if we go and take a look here, he will tell us. Let's take a listen.
Drum roll, please. Who's sweating at home, guys? Kaceytron, the queen of ripping farts and bong loads.
They do musicals. They're very musical people. Are you being serious? Dog, what do you... Look! You think I made this?
Frogan, who, bless her soul, she's still rising.
Can I walk away and use the bathroom? Do I have permission? Can I use the bathroom, please? I'll leave it playing.
Twitch is liable for me interviewing a Yemeni teenager who's only known genocide his entire life.
What happened?
And Denims, the queen of self-owning. And my God, is she the queen of that?
It's very obvious from the way that guy's talking he's a Sneeko fan.
Oh my god, bro, I love you. Can I give you a hug, bro?
I'm so sweaty.
That's right, Ethan Klein is suing Denims here. He's suing Frogan and he's suing Kaceytron. 3 people who are in Hassan's orbit who have been very critical of him in the past that he just happened to catch watching his video in its entirety without really being transformative, at least in Ethan Klein's opinion, and violating fair use, at least in Ethan Klein's opinion. Now, part of the reason that he's able to say that their reactions to his video are not fair use is because of the principles of fair use themselves. So if we go to the US copyrightoffice.gov and we find out about fair use, right? This is the page where they talk about how fair use exists and how you have to use it. We go down here to about fair use. So there's 4 factors that can go into determining whether or not something is fair use. The first one is the purpose and character of the use, including whether the use is of a commercial nature or is for a non-profit educational purposes. This one doesn't really apply to YouTube and Twitch because obviously everybody's using it for a commercial purpose. So this part here, pretty much every YouTube video, every Twitch stream fails on this. However, you only have to meet one of these for it to be considered fair use. So using something commercially isn't necessarily a failure of fair use. Number 2 is the nature of the copyrighted work. This factor analyzes the degree to which the work that was used relates to the copyright's purpose of encouraging creative expression. Thus, using a more creative or imaginative work, such as a novel, movie, or song, is less likely to support a claim of fair use than using factual work such as a technical article or news item. Now, what this is basically saying is that if you're using something that is just a fact that somebody else has put out there, then that's usually fine, right? Depends on the nature. So if somebody writes a news article claiming that Ethan Klein was riding a motorcycle in his own front lawn, and then I reuse that article in my own video about the event, that would be something that would fall closer into fair use because it's a factual nature. However, if somebody wrote an article where they told a story about Ethan Klein riding a motorcycle in his front yard that was fictional, it's harder to prove fair use in that way because it's something that came out of somebody's mind and nothing else. This is also part of where transformative. Now, when you hear somebody say something about fair use being transformative, part of that can come from here. If you're using something that is a fact that somebody else published in like an article or a video in order to prove a point in your video, that itself helps you make a fair use argument. Now, the next option here, amount or substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole. Now, what this means is when you're sued for copyright infringement and you claim fair use, the court's going to look at how much of the original content you used in your content. So if you're a Twitch streamer, you're streaming Ethan Klein's entire video, they're going to look at the entire stream that you did. They're going to find Ethan Klein's video. They're going to see how much of it you used and how long you actually were talking about it. But that's not where it stops. Then they're going to look at, did you use more than you had to in order to react to it? So for instance, where I use just clips from Ethan Klein's video in this video, instead of using the entirety of Ethan's uploaded video, I have a higher chance of being protected by fair use because I'm only using the portions of Ethan's video which I need to in order to make my point. And if I use the entirety of his video and I didn't need to do that, then that could take away from my fair use defense. And then finally, the fourth option, effect of the use upon the potential market or value of the copyrighted work. This is where the rest of the idea of transformative content comes in, right? The courts review whether and to what extent the unlicensed use harms the existing or future market for the copyright owner's original work. So what that means is if you're using somebody else's content, right, somebody else's copyrighted material, and you are doing something completely unique that would have no effect on the original video. So say Ethan Klein makes his content nuke and you take out edits from it and you make a funny meme compilation of all the funny faces that Ethan Klein makes in that video, that would be more protected under fair use than just uploading the entirety of his video and putting yellow boxes over his face when he makes a funny face, if that makes any sense. The point is that you have to transform something so that it doesn't fit the same market niche as the original video. Now, someone like Asmongold actually does that really well, where he will react to something and he actually makes it harder to watch the original video by constantly pausing and interrupting the video that he's reacting to in order to insert his own opinions. So it's not a market substitute, even though he watches the videos in their entirety, because nobody's going to watch his version over the original version if they were only showing up for the original version. In an Asmongold video, people are showing up for Asmongold's take on the video, which is different and does not fit into the same market niche. So obviously fair use is pretty complicated, and it's going to be hard for these creators that Ethan Klein is suing to prove fair use, because that's right, fair use is an affirmative defense. They have to claim it and prove that they were doing it correctly, which is not going to be easy, especially when you consider that Ethan almost certainly has better lawyers and more money to fight this. On top of that, Ethan has clips of all of them saying some variation of, thank you for watching my video so that you don't have to go and watch Ethan's and support him indirectly, which is a major problem for them because that directly violates the fourth rule here. If you're telling people that they're watching your video because you don't want them to pay the original creator, that, my friends, is a direct effect that you're having on the original market for the video, which is a problem for Frogan, it's a problem for Denims, and it's a problem for Kaceytron. So do you guys think that Ethan's gonna win this? Or do you think that these streamers have a good fair use claim? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. So you probably saw that Ethan Klein published a video on his H3H3 Productions channel talking about how he's suing 3 creators. Those creators were Denims, Frogan, and Kaceytron. If you want to know more about why he's suing them, you can check out my video from yesterday. But today we're going to talk about their response, because it hasn't been great. You see, each one of the 3 creators that Ethan mentioned he's suing have reacted by starting a crowdfunding campaign. That's right, we've got Denims, we've got Frogan, and we've got Kaceytron, and each one of them has put up a post very recently where you can find their GoFundMe link. We go to Denims, and we see the GoFundMe link, and then if we go to Frogan here, you will see the GoFundMe link right there. That's right, they've all launched GoFundMes because they're all scared. None of them have the same amount of money or resources as Ethan Klein, which is weird because each one of these creators has individually basically harassed Ethan Klein for a long time now. Now, whether or not that's the reason that Ethan's actually going through with this and the reason that he set the copyright trap to begin with, I can't tell you, but it does seem likely. So each one of them has set up their own GoFundMes. There's one problem with that. Each one of them has, despite having the GoFundMe up for over a day at this point, only raised a few $1,000s, with the most being Frogan here having raised $20,000, but she's asking for $200,000. And the least being Kaceytron here only raising $2,500 of a $100,000 goal. That's right, none of them are raising money that quickly. And why is that? Think about it real quick. Ethan set up this trap so that people would react to his video and he would take down people who reacted in a way that he felt abused his copyright. So for instance, these 3 creators, Denims, Frogan, and Kaceytron, they all went on to say in some way they're happy people are watching on their streams so they don't have to give money to Ethan Klein, basically admitting that their videos, that their reactions are a market replacement for Ethan Klein's videos, getting them sued. But in doing that, in suing all 3 of them at one time, he limits how much they're going to get from a GoFundMe, because the people who are donating to Denims, the people who are donating to Frogan, and the people who are donating to Kaceytron, they're all the same people. They have a very shared fan base because they're all Hassan orbiters. They're all in the same far left politics space on Twitch, which means that the pool of people who are willing to support them is limited because whoever they ask to donate them money has to decide between which of the 3 that they want to donate to, which has led to these small amounts. Now, Frogan here, I think she's probably the biggest, or at least the most well-known of the creators that Ethan is suing. I don't know if you can really call her a big creator because she's really not. She's basically a Hassan waiting room, but she managed to actually make 10% of her goal, something that the other 2 have yet to meet, although Denims is kind of close. One problem for them though is that the comments on their GoFundMe kind of make it seem like people are only supporting them for the meme, because if we scroll down here, you will see donations that say Ethan's second mega fridge fund. Can't wait for my king to get vindicated in court. Hey Ethan, please enjoy these $5. That's right, they all have comments like that. If we go here and we check out the Frogan defense fund and we scroll down, you will see here's $5 for Ethan, don't eat it. If we go to the Kaceytron GoFundMe, you will see Ethan, remember when Gila had access to a button that played cricket sounds? This is my campaign to bring it back. That's right, each one of these GoFundMes has comments from people actually supporting Ethan and giving them money as a roundabout way to donate to Ethan because they believe that these 3 creators will lose their lawsuit. Now, what do I believe? Do I believe that Denims, Frogan, and Kaceytron will lose their lawsuit? I think it's kind of likely. I hesitate to say that they definitely will. However, the fact that they basically admitted, at least in my opinion, that their reactions were market substitutes for Ethan Klein's videos really does hurt their chances, and I don't understand why in God's name they would do that. Regardless of whether or not they can win on the facts, it does seem like Ethan Klein has an advantage here because all of them raising money so slowly, and genuinely just not a lot of it, is a bit of a problem for them. Because as far as I'm aware, this isn't going to get tossed out of court. People will say that it should be. I don't think it can be, right? I don't think that anti-slap applies to copyright lawsuits. I mean, I'm no lawyer, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't, which means that these people, they're all going to have to go through this lawsuit. If you know that you've messed up, if you know that you do not meet fair use standards, and you try to argue that, you're just going to end up paying more. So I do think actually that we will see at least a couple of them settle with Ethan, because I don't think that it's worth them fighting this, especially if they believe that they're going to lose, and that's up to their lawyers to tell them what the odds are. My guess would be it's not worth the gamble of $100,000, $200,000 on this lawsuit, and they'll try to settle for less than that. Do you guys think that Ethan would even entertain that kind of offer? Because honestly, at this point, I think he's going scorched earth. So that's the update. Basically, all 3 of them are trying to raise money, and none of them are having much luck. What do you guys think? Do you think that they're going to be able to raise enough money to fight this lawsuit, or are they going to have to settle? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. We're back talking about Denims today. That's right, Denims, the largest female political streamer on Twitch, and also completely unhinged left-wing person. We're talking about her once again because of Ethan Klein from H3H3 Productions lawsuit. If you don't know what that's about, there should be a card in the top right of this video taking you to my original video explaining it. But the gist is, Ethan Klein posted his video, the content nuke on Hassan Piker, and Denims and a couple other streamers, Frogan and Kaceytron, all reacted to it on stream in a way that Ethan Klein didn't feel met the fair use standards, and now he's suing Denims and the rest of them for copyright infringement. That's right, Ethan Klein is doing it again. But unfortunately for Denims, she's trying to raise a lot of her money from GoFundMe in order to fund the lawsuit. As we all know, lawsuits are incredibly expensive. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the $100,000 that she's asking for here isn't even enough for her actual lawsuit. I honestly think she's probably gonna need $200,000 or $300,000, depending on how long this goes and if there ends up being a settlement or not. And unfortunately for Denims, this GoFundMe has basically stalled out. I mean, she raised $40,000, that's no small potatoes, but it's nowhere near how much she's gonna need. And it seems like Denims has chosen a very interesting route on how she's going to get the money that she needs in order to try and fight Ethan Klein's lawsuit. That's right, Denims made this post the other day, getting sued for copyright infringement, so time to S it up, I guess, LOL. And then you may note that in this photo on the left here, she's holding up a document that has a picture of a certain German dictator from the 1940s, whose name YouTube doesn't like, so I can't say it. Now, once you get past the optics of somebody like Denims holding up this picture when she's a left-wing political streamer who's currently being sued by a Jewish YouTuber who she has criticized immensely over the past couple of years, so I do think there's a little bit of irony in her holding up a picture of the 1940s dictator of Germany, but hey, maybe she's just not good with optics. Anyway, what she said is actually this is a page from the Ethan Klein lawsuit. That's right, she says down here, yes, that is a real page from the filing, by the way. She then goes on to say, for those not in the know, Ethan Klein has filed a frivolous lawsuit against me, alleging that I ripped off his video. I have retained a lawyer and am going to fight against his baseless attempt to silence me. Now, this is interesting because it means that she actually still believes that the lawsuit is frivolous. I believe that the lawsuit that Ethan Klein has filed is not just not frivolous, I think that it's incredibly dangerous for Denims. And I mean, I'm no lawyer, right? But the way that I see it is when you have a fair use defense, which is almost certainly what Denims is going to claim in this lawsuit, that's an affirmative defense. You have to go to court and fight and prove that your use of their copyrighted material fits into the fair use guidelines, which is a problem that Denims is going to have a hard time overcoming because Ethan Klein alleges that Denims made statements on video, by the way, that people can watch her stream instead of watching his original video, which means that she's going to fall afoul of at least one of the parts of fair use, making it much harder for her to actually get a fair use claim through because her reaction to Ethan Klein's video does in fact serve as a full market replacement for his video, which is what she admitted in that statement and something that's going to be a real problem for her at court. So I do think that it's definitely not frivolous. There is a chance that she wins, right? With any type of this lawsuit, it all comes down to how the judge interprets fair use. So there is a potential that Denims actually wins this, but I do think that the overwhelming odds right now, from the information that we have already, now other stuff could come out in the future that changes this, it looks like Ethan Klein has kind of a slam dunk case here. So I don't know why she's still calling it frivolous. And honestly, the fact that she's calling it frivolous probably isn't good for her fundraising efforts because it makes it sound less serious. I feel like she should probably say that it's more serious, especially if she has to resort to this to try to get more people to give her money so that she can actually defend from Ethan Klein's lawsuit. But hey, who am I to judge? I may not be a lawyer, but I'm also certainly not a PR consultant. So Denims, interesting strategy you've got here. Can't say I'm not looking forward to where it goes. Not sure if it's gonna work, but good on you for trying, I guess. What do you guys think? Do you think that Denims was smart to resort to posting these kind of pictures in order to try to raise awareness for the lawsuit? Or is she just debasing herself for no reason in order to fight a lawsuit that she's almost certainly going to lose? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. There's a reason that Ethan Klein is smiling like this right now, and it's because things don't seem to be going well for the people that he's suing. That's right, if you haven't been paying attention, Ethan Klein here is suing Denims, Kaceytron, and Frogan. These three streamers all reacted to Ethan Klein's content nuke video on Hassan Piker, and Ethan Klein feels that their reactions were not fair use. And also, I think he just wants to get back at them because they've all been kind of mean to him in the past. So Ethan Klein is pretty smug right now because Ethan Klein, he's got a lot more money than all three of them. Denims, Kaceytron, and Frogan are all Hassan orbiters, but they're not Hassan. They don't have the same resources that a streamer or YouTuber the size of Ethan Klein has. And because of that, each one of them opened up their own GoFundMes. We have one for Denims, we have one for Kaceytron, and we have one for Frogan. Now you might notice something, it's been a couple of weeks now, and none of them have reached their goal. That's right, Denims has only raised $37,556 of her $100,000 goal. Kaceytron has only made $41,829 of her $100,000 goal. And Frogan, she set the expectations high here, requesting $200,000 as her goal, and she's only raised $33,519. None of them have raised that much money. Now granted, I know $30,000, $40,000, and $30,000, that's a lot of money. When you add that all up, it's about $100,000 between all of them. It's a little more. But this is the problem that I pointed out in my original video about their GoFundMes. They all share an audience. Denims, Kaceytron, and Frogan, they all have the same audience. And because of that, Ethan Klein, I think he was pretty smart when he sued all of them at the same time, because now they're all asking their own audiences for money. But the problem with that is, if I'm a viewer of Denims here, but I'm also a viewer of Kaceytron or Frogan, how do I decide who to donate to? Do I donate to all three? Well, that's a lot of money. It's going to cost a lot for me to donate to all three, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to pick one and donate to that one. Now, somehow, Kaceytron actually has the most raised, and good for her, because that's crazy. I don't know how she got the most raised for this, because I'm pretty sure Denims and Frogan are more recognizable names. The reason that I'm mentioning that their GoFundMe still aren't doing so well is because I saw this tweet from Dan Can't Tweet here, and it's saying that he's tracking how much they're making on their GoFundMes every day, every 2 days, and he said that in the past 48 hours, total donations received for the Ethan Klein Lawsuit Defense Fund. Kaceytron has raised $259, Frogan has raised $160, and Denims, she's only raised $151. Please donate to keep the memes alive. And then he has some screenshots here of when he took them, so it's kind of low quality. I don't know why he took his screenshots on a potato, but you can see this was at 3:25 p.m. on the 29th of June 2025, and their totals here. And then if we go over here in the second picture here, this one was on the 1st of July 2025, and yeah, the numbers have not changed by much at all. So it really isn't looking too good for them, and I'm not sure how they can come back from this. I'm pretty sure Ethan Klein's going to be smiling all the way to the bank, because the problem for them is they can, in fact, defend themselves. I mean, I think that Ethan Klein probably has a much better chance at winning this lawsuit, specifically because of how malicious it seems what they did was, and how it seems like they were trying to create a market replacement for his original video. Because of that, I think the odds are in Ethan's favor, but they could argue, right? They could go through and try to make this work. But if they don't have the money, if they can't fundraise and they don't have the money to hire lawyers, they're screwed, because Ethan Klein here, this right here, this is the face of a man who's ready to go to war. What people have been doing to Ethan Klein over the past couple of years, including some of the things said by Kaceytron, Denims, and Frogan about Ethan Klein, have driven him to the point where he's now suing people, where I don't think if you asked him 5 years ago, he would have ever thought that he was doing this, because Ethan Klein has actually been the victim of a lawsuit in the past over copyright, which he prevailed in, and he won and actually set the standard for reaction videos on YouTube. So if there's anybody who's an expert in how this works and how fair use works, it's Ethan Klein and his team of lawyers. All of these different creators, Denims, Kaceytron, and Frogan, they're all going to need a good legal team. They're going to need a huge legal team, and they're going to need a legal team that's actually capable of taking on somebody like Ethan Klein, and I don't know how they're going to do that if they're not raising that much money. Pretty sure Ethan's going to win this one, if not just on the merit of the case, also on the fact that if he wanted to, he could do the vindictive millionaire tactic of just burying them in paperwork and costing them tons of money, as their lawyers have to go through tons of paperwork, charging them hourly for their services until essentially they all run out of money and can't afford to pay their lawyers anymore. So let me know if you think that's what Ethan's going to do, or do you think he's going to go through and go through the whole lawsuit, and do you think that any of these three are going to settle? Because if I was them and I was looking at the GoFundMe amounts being raised, I would be begging for a settlement right now. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. H3H3 Productions has recently announced that he's suing 3 creators. You probably know about that, but if you don't, click on this video on the top right. Today, we're going to be talking about the reaction that one of these creators had to Ethan's announcement of a lawsuit, and it's not looking so good. The subject of today's video is our good friend Kaceytron. Now, Kaceytron here, she's a Twitch streamer who decided to react to Ethan Klein's video in a way that Ethan Klein feels was not exactly transformative or fair use, and so she has been named as a defendant in the lawsuit that Ethan is filing, but it kind of seems like she doesn't have too much of a defense or really understand what's going on at all, which probably isn't a surprise when you consider that Ethan called her out in his video for smoking like 40 times while watching his video, but that's besides the point. Because it doesn't seem like Kaceytron has any idea what she's doing here, she's come up with a crazy way to excuse it all, and we're gonna watch a clip in a second, but first I just want to point out that her GoFundMe has not even raised $10,000 in multiple days now, so the clip we're about to see might actually be the best chance she has at winning. So let's take a look at this clip where Kaceytron explains why she doesn't know what's going on and lays out what seems to be her strategy for dealing with this. So let's give it a listen right after you hit that like button.
Just because I didn't react to his stupid video, he had to make up that I did and put a video of me smoking weed over his stupid video to get attention. I'm sorry, I don't give a fuck about your video. Like, I don't know. I don't recall reacting to it. I don't believe that I reacted to it. I do not remember. I don't know. I may have been under the influence, but I do not recall reacting to it.
That's right. Kaceytron says that she doesn't recall reacting to Ethan Klein's video. In fact, she implied, well, actually she kind of outright stated that she believes that Ethan Klein put a video of her doing drugs in front of his video to make it look like she was reacting to his video. I honestly don't know where to start with this because it's so insane. She's just thrown out everything and said, I didn't do that. Does she think the court's not going to know? Does she think Ethan's not going to subpoena Twitch for the records? Because he can do that, right? He can subpoena Twitch, get a copy of the video, even if she deletes it, because Twitch has to hold on to all live streams and all video for a certain amount of time because of data retention laws that are put in place specifically for things like this lawsuit. And they'll be able to see with chain of custody that she was the one who streamed the video of her watching Ethan's video. So it's not a very good excuse. In fact, it's probably the worst one she could have, because she's just trying to gaslight everybody. And quite frankly, it's honestly a little defamatory towards Ethan because she's implying that he made the whole thing up, which she obviously knows isn't true. So I'm not even sure how you defend yourself in court when you say something like this, because on top of that, if you just listen to what she says, she's also saying that she didn't react to his video, but she definitely showed his video on stream, even if she doesn't know it. So if she's saying that she didn't react to it, is she saying that she didn't transform it, that her watching Ethan's video on stream wasn't fair use? I don't know if that's what she meant to say, but that's definitely what a court could interpret from her comments here. Of course, they could also interpret that she was absolutely blitzed out of her mind, and because of that, could not have reacted to Ethan's video in a fair use way. But I guess she's going for the very slim chance that the judge goes, oh, you were smoking? Oh, you don't have to deal with the consequences of your actions. You couldn't control yourself. You weren't in control. You weren't in the driver's seat. You were smoking too much, which I don't think is going to happen, but it seems to be the angle that Kaceytron is going for here. So what do you guys think? Will Kaceytron's strategy work in court? Will it maybe entice people to donate more money to her GoFundMe? Or is she just absolutely screwed? Because quite frankly, I don't think this is going to go her way, and I think that she should honestly be begging Ethan to settle with her. And I do think that at least 2 or maybe all 3 of the people who he's suing will come out and try to settle with him at some point in the future, because this is going to be a big mess. It's going to cost a lot of money, and Ethan has all the money in the world, whereas the 3 people that he's suing do not. So let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Today we're talking about Kaceytron because she's back in the news. Obviously, it's related to the Ethan Klein lawsuit saga, where Kaceytron is getting sued by Ethan Klein for copyright alongside Denims and Frogan. Now, poor Kaceytron here is probably in the worst place of all of them, because despite being a Hassan orbiter like the other 2, she's probably the least recognizable name, which isn't a dig at her, it's just unfortunate because it means she's not going to get as much in the crowdfunding. Today's news is that Kaceytron was actually officially served by Ethan Klein. That's right, she officially got the lawsuit delivered to her, and she was not very happy about it. Let's take a listen to see how she was feeling.
You know, I was planning on starting to look into like lawyers and stuff today, but I didn't think that I'd get served yet, or that I would even get served. But I guess I heard it's Ethan's birthday, so I don't know. I was like, I guess I'll go live so he can get a good birthday gift, since I'm sure he thinks this is funny. I don't know. But I got served. My dad answered the door, and I said earlier they used my dad's disability to trick him, but that was unrelated. It was just today we've been like calling on my dad's disability, you know, because I've been like working towards trying to get my dad on disability, and we were like responding to some calls and notifications we got about that. And then like a few minutes later, the next thing I know, my dad comes in and he's like fucking crying. You know, it's really fucking traumatic to see your dad cry like that. You know, like that's what really like has me like so freaked out, is seeing like how emotional my dad got about it. You know, like, and I know people are gonna be fucking making fun of me for this, and like they're gonna be posting like videos of me like crying and laughing at it and whatnot, you know, like.
That's right, Kaceytron is very upset that she was served by Ethan Klein, and she's also upset that people are going to talk about the fact that she's upset about being served, so she's double upset. But unfortunately for her, she's garnered a lot of bad will with pretty much everybody on the internet over the past couple of years. Now, I do feel bad because I know this has to be incredibly stressful for her. However, I'm not on her side. I think that Ethan Klein probably will win this, but I can definitely understand why she's stressed out, because she's kind of looking at losing everything to Ethan Klein in court. So it's a big mess for her, and it's not her fault she's upset by it. I mean, it's her fault for doing it in the first place, but it's not her fault that she's upset about it. Facing the consequences of your own actions is usually upsetting. However, when this clip went viral, there was a number of reactions to it from all around the internet. One of the big ones was from our good friend Asmongold, as Asmongold called out the fact that she's begging for sympathy, whereas in the past, she has been 100% unwilling to give him sympathy. So let's take a listen to what Asmongold said.
This is the same girl that said I killed my mother. The amount of sympathy that I have for this? 0.
That's right. Asmongold has 0 sympathy for Kaceytron, and I think a lot of people on the internet feel that same way, because Kaceytron has done a lot of bridge burning with other creators and just kind of being vindictive over the past couple of years. If we go here and we just take a look at Kaceytron and we search up Asmongold, then we just scroll down, you can see how many tweets Kaceytron actually has made with Asmongold in it. So we're just still going here It's not stopping anytime soon. That's right, it's still going. She's made this many tweets about Asmongold. That's crazy when you consider Asmongold is just a guy who sits in his room all day and talks about politics. But she's somehow written an entire novel's worth of stuff about poor Asmongold. I mean, like, it's so much that Twitter won't even load it all as I'm trying to scroll up if I go too fast. There's just so much stuff here. Like, what is she doing? What did Asmongold do to her? Why did she say that stuff about his mother? And why does she tweet about him so much? I don't know, but I did see this tweet when I was looking through them, and I did think this kind of applies to this situation. She said, exactly, Asmongold is a person undeserving of human empathy. Kaceytron believes Asmongold is undeserving of human empathy, and I get the feeling that that's not exactly limited to Asmongold, but, you know, I can't prove that. It's just interesting to me to see her sympathy baiting when in the past she has been so unsympathetic to a lot of figures and basically anybody who disagrees with her politically. So this is just the consequences of her own actions. What can I say? She's screwed. And it's not just Asmongold that she's done this to. It's actually somebody more topical to this. She's done a lot of tweeting about Ethan Klein. This is a Twitter search from Kaceytron with the words either Ethan or Klein in it. And if we scroll down, you'll see that there's quite a few tweets from Kaceytron about Ethan Klein as well. In fact, I don't even know how she tweets this much. She must be tweeting like 20 times a day. Like, it's absurd the amount of tweets she has, especially because a large portion of these are very rude tweets about Ethan Klein. So I don't really understand what's going on here and why she wasn't expecting this. I guess she just can't deal with the consequences of her own actions. So we're gonna see how this turns out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that Kaceytron is screwed, or do you think that she has a way out of this? Do you feel bad for her? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't been living under a rock, you have heard about Ethan Klein suing 3 different creators here for their reactions to his content nuke video on Hassan Piker, which he claims were not transformative or done in good faith, so he's planning on taking everything from them. Now, of course, those 3 creators were Denims, Frogan, and Kaceytron, who you might recognize as people who have had controversy with Ethan in the past. I'm sure that has nothing to do with it. However, at the same time, even though that probably does actually have something to do with it, it doesn't matter, because what they did was so egregious that I honestly very much doubt that Ethan's gonna lose, or that they won't try to settle before they actually go to trial because of the legal costs this is gonna have. So we've talked about all that before though. Why are we talking about it again? Well, you see there's been a lot of comments about Ethan's lawsuit here, and that's because he's only suing women right now. Denims is a woman, Frogan is a woman, and Kaceytron is a woman. Now, if you know one thing about the left wing, which Ethan's on and all these people are on, because these people are all Hassan orbiters, they have to victimize everybody and put everything into a box. And for some reason, the box that the lawsuit that Ethan Klein is doing on these 3 people has been put into is sexist, because obviously Ethan Klein is a big bad man and he's suing 3 helpless women. Now, of course, obviously they're not helpless, and because of their own statements that they made on their own streams, they're all kind of screwed. But if you look beyond that and you just ignore all the facts of the case, you will see that Ethan Klein is obviously sexist and that he's only going after them because they're women. At least that's what some people are saying. There's even been news articles talking about Ethan Klein's war on women and how he's suing only women. So that has led to Ethan issuing a new statement on his Instagram saying, "Good evening, I've been thinking deeply about everything going on, specifically about the accusation that I'm a misogynist for suing 3 women. You are all correct. It's not been fair. That's why I've decided to add SeanDaBlack to the lawsuits for gender equality. Sean, be sure to thank all of your snarker friends for their constructive advice." That's right, Ethan announced that he's going to be suing a 4th streamer, and that streamer is SeanDaBlack. He's also in the Hassan orbit and also a far left streamer. Now, Ethan does not say in this post whether or not he's suing them for the same thing that he's suing Denims, Frogan, and Kaceytron for, but I think we can probably guess that he is, because otherwise he wouldn't be adding him to the lawsuit. So, though I haven't seen evidence of how his reaction to Ethan Klein's video was in bad faith or otherwise isn't covered by fair use, I'm sure Ethan probably did the math behind the scenes and figured out that this guy would be a good one to sue. Otherwise, he'd just be throwing money away, and I don't know why he'd do that, especially when he's pretty much got the internet behind him, and it kind of seems like he's going to have an easy win. Now, nothing about copyright is ever easy, so that's a massive exaggeration. There's a good chance that he still loses, but I don't really think that he will, because in part that Denims, Frogan, and Kaceytron are all having trouble crowdfunding their legal defense, and now if we add another one into the mix, another Hassan orbiter, he's probably also going to do a GoFundMe, and because all 4 of them share the same audience, because they're all far left Hassan orbiters, anybody who donates to one of their crowdfunding campaigns is taking money away from the other 3, because obviously people can only donate so much money. So if you're a viewer and you want to donate money to help one of these creators, you're probably going to donate to your favorite one, which is going to take away some potential money that the other ones could have gotten, because obviously the people who are watching far left political streams are not made of money. That being said, I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how SeanDaBlack is related to this case, and I'm not exactly certain why Ethan actually made the decision to sue him. Obviously the decision to sue sue him isn't just because he's been accused of being misogynist for only suing women. Obviously, there has to be something else that came to his attention. Maybe he just went and watched Sean's reaction to his video. Who knows? But apparently, Ethan Klein does not seem to think that he was fair use. So we'll see where this goes, and I'll let you guys know. My assumption is that we'll get a little update here on his channel or on the H3 podcast explaining why he's going to be suing SeanDaBlack, because right now we don't have a lot to go on. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think that Ethan adding a new person to this lawsuit will help him? Do you think the fact that it's a guy that he's adding to the lawsuit will get people to stop calling him sexist? Or because SeanDaBlack is obviously, well, African American, are they just going to call Ethan racist now? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. So just the other day, we talked about how Ethan Klein is expanding his lawsuit to a fourth creator, SeanDaBlack. Now, if you don't know why Ethan Klein's suing all these people, check the top right of this video. There'll be a link to my video explaining everything. But we have a new update on what's going on between Ethan Klein and SeanDaBlack, and it's not looking good for him. Let's take a look. Basically, our good friend Ethan Klein here, he's not very happy, and the other day, he put up this Instagram post saying that he is thinking about suing SeanDaBlack because all of these people have been calling him a misogynist for not suing any men when he was going after people for copyright infringement on his content nuke video. Now, of course, I don't know how good of a case he has against SeanDaBlack. I did not see his reaction. I haven't been able to find it. Ethan has yet to release a video explaining why he thinks that this is a good choice for his lawsuit. However, he did offer to drop it. If we go here, we can see SeanDaBlack responding to a retweet of a post on Instagram that Ethan Klein made. And in that post, Ethan Klein said, "I understand my announcement that I'm going to sue SeanDaBlack was upsetting to some. Therefore, in an act of superhuman grace, I will make you this offer. If the snark subreddit, Taylor Lorenz, and Cat Tenbarge all apologize for calling me a misogynist, I will consider dropping the lawsuit against Sean. This offer expires Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Now, if you don't know who these people are, Taylor Lorenz and Cat Tenbarge are journalists who have been critical of Ethan Klein. The snark subreddit is a subreddit that has been, honestly, more than critical of Ethan Klein. I think it's more of a harassing subreddit than just a critical subreddit. All of these people either said or in some way alluded to Ethan Klein being a misogynist because he only sued women for copyright infringement. Now, of course, that's a stupid argument to make. Obviously, he's not suing them because of their gender. He's making decisions on which cases he thinks will be easiest to win and which people he would like to see lose to him in court. However, seeing Ethan offer to drop the lawsuit, if I was SeanDaBlack, I would take him up on this because this, my friends, is not something that happens very often, and if they did this, it would save Sean hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawyer fees and potential restitution if he loses. Of course, he could always win, in which case he could probably get lawyer's fees from Ethan Klein. Either way, it's going to be a mess for probably years before it gets resolved, and during that time, he's gonna have to pay for it. So I would take this. This is a great offer, and he should honestly seriously consider it. However, it looks like he's not considering it. He put up this tweet saying, "This is the last thing I'll say about this, but Ethan Klein using me to force accomplished women, journalists, to grovel to him is ironically exactly misogyny he claims is inaccurate in this very post." Now, he forgot a couple words there. I'm assuming he means ironically exactly the misogyny that he claims is inaccurate in this very post, but whatever. He's saying that asking two people who have called him out to apologize is misogynistic because both of those people are women, and you know, I don't think that's a fair argument because I'm pretty sure if a man had done the exact same thing and written articles talking about Ethan Klein and his war on women, he would be asking them to apologize as well. So I do not think that this is a good argument. I don't think that you can call Ethan Klein a misogynist just because he's taking legal action on women and asking for other women to apologize to him, when for some reason women seem to be the ones going after Ethan Klein. I don't know what it is. Maybe he just attracts evil women. Maybe it's a pheromone thing. I don't know. But SeanDaBlack followed up that tweet with this tweet. He presents a false choice. 1. Grovel to him as he exerts the control he wants to feel over women. 2. Deny him whatever gratification he gets from that narcissistic behavior and subsequently be blamed by him for a small creator being sued. I reject this choice. F you, Ethan. So it looks like he's not taking Ethan up on his offer to have the lawsuit dropped, which I think is a major mistake. I don't really know too much about SeanDaBlack. I do not think that he's a massive Twitch streamer. I know he's a Hassan orbiter, which means obviously that he is not as big as Hassan. I don't think that him being involved in a lawsuit is gonna be good for him. If I was him, I would just take any way out I could. But maybe it's like a principles and morals thing for him. I don't know. It just seems like a disaster to get involved in this. And if I was him, I wouldn't put myself in that position. But what do you guys think? Should SeanDaBlack have taken Ethan Klein's offer? Or should he fight it out and stand on principle? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Today we've got a little bit of a correction to issue because over the past couple days, I've been talking about how Ethan Klein is suing a number of creators. Now, the creators that he initially said that he was suing were Denims, Frogan, and Kaceytron. Now, those creators were not the only ones that Ethan said that he was intended on suing, because Ethan later amended that to say that he was going to be suing SeanDaBlack here. This guy here, Sean, he's also a Hassan orbiter along the lines of Denims, Frogan, and Kaceytron. However, he was not included in the original lawsuit threat. Ethan actually said that he was adding SeanDaBlack to the lawsuit because he was upset that people were calling him a misogynist because he was only suing women. Now, of course, this sounded kind of like a joke, but at the same time, it's obviously not a joke because he's threatening a lawsuit. And then he went on to actually ask SeanDaBlack for a settlement, right? He said that if SeanDaBlack has his friends at the H3 Snark subreddit and a couple of journalists retract what they said calling Ethan Klein a misogynist, he would end the lawsuit. He even has a time that it has to be done by. This offer expires Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So this made it seem like he really was going to sue SeanDaBlack, right? Like, you wouldn't be amiss to think that he is going to do it. In fact, I'm pretty sure Sean actually himself believed that he was going to be sued. I mean, he went on about it for a while, so I think that he was actually worried that he's going to get involved in a lawsuit here, only for Ethan today to completely retract it and say that he's not going to sue SeanDaBlack, and then he never was. If we go here to Ethan's new Instagram story from the other day, he said, okay, I was kidding about suing SeanDaBlack. I thought it would be funny to add a guy after being called a misogynist. We do a little trolling on vacation. The truth is, if I thought I had a good case, I would have added him from the start. He was pretty close to making the cut though. Anyway, pretty funny how you all went from calling me a misogynist to calling me a racist. For the record, I didn't even know Sean was black. So it turns out my lawsuit isn't racist, just misogynist. But if you ask me, I am the true feminist. I hold people accountable regardless of gender. But go ahead and tell the judge about how it's not fair that I'm targeting 3 women. Let's see how that works out for you. All the best, Ethan Klein, 6/28/25, 7:03 p.m. So what Ethan says in this post is that not only is he not suing SeanDaBlack, he was never intending to begin with. He was just joking, which doesn't exactly align with the fact that he asked for a settlement just the other day. Who am I to say what he was doing? You know, maybe he was just trying to get them to apologize and say he's not a misogynist, and so he thought this was a good way to do it. It doesn't seem like a great thing to do. It kind of casts doubt on his other lawsuits, I think. I think that it's not good for his credibility, but at the same time, I can see why he did it. He wanted to keep the Hassan orbiters on their toes. That being said, pretending that you're going to sue somebody and then asking them for a settlement doesn't sound like it's entirely legal, especially if you didn't intend to sue them to begin with, so I don't know how that works out. You know, I'm not a lawyer, I can't tell you if it's legal or not, but I feel like that probably shouldn't be. What do you guys think? Was Ethan actually intending to sue SeanDaBlack and then he decided that he didn't have enough evidence? Or do you believe Ethan when he says that he wasn't planning to do this at all and that it was all a big joke? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. So you all know Ethan Klein here, and you know that he's currently involved in a lawsuit against Frogan, Kaceytron, and Denims. I've made a couple videos about it, and if you want to take a look, one of them should be popping up in the top right corner of this video now. Anyway, what we're here to talk about today is the response from Denims. That's right, Denims has responded to the Ethan Klein lawsuit, and we're going to get into it because it does not look like Denims is intending to settle. Now, if you don't know what's going on, a quick recap is that Ethan Klein is suing these creators because they reacted to his content nuke by playing the entirety of the video in a way that Ethan Klein did not feel was transformative enough to fall under fair use, and also at least a couple of them mentioned to their audience that they should watch the video on their streams instead of Ethan's channel because they didn't want people to support Ethan's channel, which is a big problem for them because I think that easily proves that they had malicious intent, but hey, I'm no lawyer. So anyway, what's new today? Why is Denims in the news? Well, she actually responded and she said that she has officially engaged legal counsel and is preparing a defense. So let's take a look at her response now, right after you hit that like button.
Finally, on the Ethan Klein lawsuit stuff, just to reiterate with all of you, I will be fighting this lawsuit. I have legal counsel. They are actively working towards drafting some stuff. I can't really share more than that right now, but I can't really share strategy right now, but they are working tirelessly for this case. And I can assure all of you that all of this is going to directly fund the paperwork, the documents that are currently being worked on that will be filed. And I'm very excited to, once it is filed and once it's public, to share it with you guys. So yes, very, very exciting stuff. We are going forward. And we will be working.
That's right, folks. Denims says that she has engaged legal counsel and that she's preparing her response. And I know it's a short clip because obviously her lawyers told her not to say too much, but there's something big that we can gather from that video, and that's that Denims did not mention settling at all. It seems like she's all in to try to win this lawsuit, which is either going to be a disaster for her or really, really good for her. Depends entirely on which way the case goes, because if she tries to fight this instead of settling and Ethan Klein ends up winning, she's completely screwed. But if the other way around happens, if Ethan Klein loses, she could stand to win big. So I can understand why she's deciding to go all in and fight back on this. However, at the same time, I do think that if I was in her position, right, if I was Denims, which thank God I'm not, I would be trying to settle this lawsuit as soon as possible because I wouldn't want to have to pay for lawyers' fees for all of this, and then on top of that probably lose, because in my opinion, I think the fact that she reacted the way she did, I honestly think her reaction was probably fine for the most part. I don't think she said enough. I don't think it was really transformative, but I think she could have gotten away with it, except for the fact that allegedly, I guess, she seems to have said that people should watch her reaction stream to Ethan Klein's content nuke instead of supporting Ethan Klein himself. Now, I think that if she said that on top of her nonsense reaction where she didn't really transform it or put enough effort into actually meet fair use guidelines, I think that's a slam dunk case for Ethan. But again, I'm not a lawyer. I just think that had she not said that one line, had she not said don't support Ethan, I think she'd be in a much better place right now. However, I think she dug herself into a hole. I don't know how she's going to get out of it. Apparently, she's going to try using lawyers. I don't know how that's going to go for her. I do know that it's going to be interesting because this will change the copyright landscape. That's right, even Nicholas Diorio's here in the comments saying if Denims wins this lawsuit, React streaming will enter the Wild West and anything will go. And that's true because if she wins, then that means that you really don't have to do much to react to a video on stream and be fine legally, to the point that you can actually just tell people, oh no, I don't go support that person, watch my version instead. That would make reaction streaming so much easier on Twitch and so much more farmable. So I think a lot of people are kind of hoping for Denims to win. That being said, I do think that Ethan actually addresses this in his video here, where he says in this video that if people keep doing this for a long time and they keep getting away with it, eventually Disney or Sony or some other big company is going to come down and crush Twitch like a bug because of the amount of copyright abuse that's going on the platform. And I kind of agree with that take. I think that there needs to be some kind of common sense copyright reform on Twitch because the whole thing is a mess and so many people do the absolute bare minimum and a lot of people don't even get to the point of the bare minimum. So it'll be interesting to see if Denims can actually pull this off and win the lawsuit, but I don't think that she will. That doesn't matter too much though. What I care about is what you think. So let me know in the comments, do you think that Denims has a chance to win this? Or do you think that she is absolutely cooked? Let me know down there in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and God bless you.